Okay, so we're working on a little bit of lower body anatomy, and again, how this relates to a lot of the yoga poses or the yoga asana that we do. It's really important to understand a little bit of the anatomy if we're going to try to create function within the poses, so that we can actually help the pose serve us better and also avoid injuries and issues and stuff like that. It's enough to talk about doing yoga to help get rid of injuries, but also we need to talk about how to do yoga asana so that we avoid injuries while we're practicing and actually increase the functional ability of the body. So this is in addition to some of the lecture that we did today for lower body anatomy. This is part of the IT band, or the iliotibial band, and sometimes called just the IT tract, and then there's a different, more technical name for it as well. So the IT band, and we see a lot of folks who have IT band issues. Most of the IT band issues are going to be overuse type syndromes with the athletes and really active people that come to the yoga mat. We will see it sometimes with folks who have postural issues, especially if their knees bow out a lot. Sometimes we see IT band issues, or with folks who are very active and they step up their training, or they change the surfaces, or maybe they change the type of training that they do. Most of the issue with the IT band is an irritation down here as the knee goes from extended or more straight to flexed or bent back. This part of the band passes over part of the lateral epicondyle of the knee and some of its structure as well. And there's a bursa in there, or a little sac that can get inflamed, and it's used for cushioning. And so when we change something dramatically, or a posture is off, we can start to wear and tear on that. It does take a lot of knee flexion, so it's one of the reasons why we don't see it in folks who just simply don't get active and bend their knees much. The IT band is directly related to a muscle that's up here, and the short is your TFL, which is acceptable for a test answer. So if I ask you for one of your hip flexors, especially one that relates to your IT band, that is your tensor fascia latae, on the top, and that is this muscle right up here. So if you find your iliac crest just below it, right in here, it's this little teeny bit of muscle that's heavily embedded into the upper portion of this connective tissue band tract. And that is a little bit of a hip flexor. It can also help with a little bit of leg rotation. And so sometimes we'll see a little bit of irritation in this IT band with folks who for some reason have internally rotated too much. In the yoga world, folks who do inner spiral or expanding spiral, if you're familiar with those terms, and they do it too much and they're activating the leg muscles, they might get some hip spasming or overwork in that TFL. And if they do it a lot, they can also disturb the tracking of the knee. This is also related to the outer quadricep muscle, and I'll give you a little bit of a different view on this. So the outer quadricep muscle, this is the track or the band coming all the way to the outer edge of the leg, so this is a side view. The outer quadricep muscle, the Vastus Lateralis, it is just stuck or pinned right to the inside. So if we did something that really increased the workload of that Vastus Lateralis repetitively, say like a cyclist, it would be very easy to see some over tension. So if that muscle were to develop a lot, grow and expand, or to tighten up, and because it's covered, it's enmeshed with this IT band, it would also disturb the tension as it goes over the knee, and then as the knee bends repeatedly. If the tone put on this band has increased, then the friction down here at the knee is going to go up as well. It's also related to the glute muscles, the glute maximus and medius, and they come right down in and innervate here too. So if somebody has, we'll see this a lot with a really weak or muscle imbalance up in the glutes, And this happens a lot in yoga. There's not a lot of use of the glute muscles, even in the lunging poses. So we'll see that the underdevelopment here won't give good muscle balance. And so this will tend to track off. And you could also see some agitation in the knee when these muscles are undertoned and somebody, say, goes jogging. It might not be the friction experience, but it could be related to the knee tracking just because those muscles don't fire very well. So if you're a persistent yoga practitioner, you need to start using the glutes so that this IT band holds a good tone, and a whole bunch of other mechanics related to the glutes as well. So we have the glute maximus and the glute medius, and then on the back side even farther, the most outer hamstring belly, the biceps femoris. The biceps femoris, it comes down, and below the knee, the connective tissue binds in quite a bit. So we see it has a similar connection right below the knee. But then above the knee, from some body worker stuff or the more connective tissue and fascia conversation, that this biceps femoris can develop a lot of adhesion to the outer quadricep and to the connective tissue of the IT band. So we'll see some hamstring issue, some hamstring work, the most outer hamstring related to IT band issues. The yoga poses that tend to work really well for this, for stretching it, are the revolved triangle, where there's a lot of leg stabilization, and then the pelvis oftentimes overturns, or even when it just gets more neutral, it's going to pull the outer hip the opposite direction, which will create stretch along here. And then pigeon pose can create this just a little bit. It works different than the revolved triangle. And then cow face or Gomukhasana pose, which seems to be the best stretch here. All of those, actually the revolved triangle is safer on the knee, but the other ones have the knee coming across the midline quite a bit. And one of the things I would promote is a lot of lower leg stabilization work so that the knee is held stable as you bring the leg across the midline, or that you rotate the leg. But great ways to stretch the muscles and any of the tension put onto the band. With that, to kind of break the idea that yoga asana or yoga practice is all flexibility related, if you're going to do stuff to stretch that relates to tight IT band, it would behoove you it would behoove you if you didn't also go in and increase some of the muscle balances. And in yoga asana, most of our work is static, but you can at least start to turn up some of the mind-body connection. For example, using your glutes in the poses better, and also beginning to even use some of the hamstring work better. And in some of your squats and stuff like that, utilizing the quadricep muscles in better balance. And for example, one of those is that the inner quadriceps, the vastus medialis, rarely gets used in yoga. And we can do small bends in the knee and stabilization poses, or standing balancing poses at times, to try to get better muscle balance between the inner edge of the quadriceps and the outer edge of the quadriceps. Hip activation for something that's supposed to help work with the quadriceps as well. So this is some of the work, and this is some of the anatomy related to the IT band. And in generality, better alignment and better muscle balance is going to help. And then when that's not enough, especially if there's been some overuse, some of the yoga poses I mentioned to help stretch out things related to it, to stretch out the IT band. So I hope that helps. Make sure you remember, most specifically, I think for a test would be part of the glute reaction, and then the general anatomy too. All right, have a good one.